Welcome to Colorado Conversations. I'm today's host, Chris Parente. I'm the morning anchor over on CW2, and I'm also a cancer patient. I've been diagnosed with cancer. Still doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. I'm 55, relatively young, been healthy my whole life, no history of cancer in my family. But here I am sitting in front of you right now telling you I'm in a fight. I'm in a fight with cancer. I decided to share this journey publicly in the hope of raising awareness and in helping make sense of it in my own head. I feel like I'm a talker. It's what I've been doing my whole career. And as I talk, I'm working through it myself. So thank you for listening. And thank you for being a part of my journey. I will say this much. I was diagnosed last October. It's been almost a year now with bladder cancer. Bladder cancer. I'd never even heard of it other than Coach Prime. When you get a diagnosis of cancer, you can feel lost in the wilderness real quick. And you're looking for a light. You're looking for the lighthouse. You're looking for a beacon. And I found mine with a group, oddly enough, called Beacon. I think it's perfectly named. Beacon, which is the Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network. We got Meri-Margaret Deoudes, CEO, joining us today.
Good morning, Chris.
Thank you for helping me tell this story.
Thank you.
Now, Beacon, Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network, first of all, it's just a stroke of luck that I can even get you on my show because you're based out on the East Coast, but you have a big national think tank every year.
Yep.
It's being held right here in Denver.
Right here in Denver.
Let's talk first off about what that think tank is, because I imagine with any cancer, you're trying to get the researchers together and move the ball down the field.
Yes, that's right. So it's the 20th anniversary of our think tank meeting. It's the largest scientific medical meeting around bladder cancer in the country. And it started right here in Colorado 20 years ago in Aspen, 35 people, and now we're at almost 370 people. And the point of the meeting is to bring together the leaders, the key opinion leaders in bladder cancer from a research, clinical, APPs, RNs, and of course, people living with the disease to talk about bladder cancer and really bring this subject up so people are more aware and our research community can share ideas and innovate to change the landscape of treatment.
I think it's so cool that Denver's hosting this. I actually was very fortunate, honored to kind of come to your, I don't want to call it opening ceremonies, the opening session of Beacon's think tank, and to see a room filled with, and these are the top medical institutions, universities, hospitals in the country. They're all here coming together to try and get a handle on what comes next with bladder cancer.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think it really started with our founder, Diane Qualley. She just insisted that patients were the center. That's why we started with the patient panel that you were on. And we've always had collaboration in the space. Our medical community is super committed to the people living with the disease, as well as collaborating and sharing ideas, and makes our community really, really unique. And I think it's also part of the reason that even though you had this news in October, as we discussed yesterday, there are many more therapies coming online for bladder cancer patients, which is super important because for the last 15 years or so, there was only one sort of treatment protocol.
Right. And if anybody out there knows somebody, or maybe you've been recently diagnosed, do stick around because I want to get a little into detail specifically about bladder cancer.
Yes.
Because here's what I've discovered, and you already know this, not a lot of people talk about it.
No.
I only knew about bladder cancer from Coach Prime. Obviously, I anchored the show and reported on his journey, and he's cancer-free.
Yes.
God love you, Coach Prime.
Yes.
He's the only guy I'd ever even heard of.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is when you get down into it, almost everybody, oh, my grandpa had it.
Yes.
My uncle, my dad, my brother's dealing with it right now. Why aren't people talking more about bladder cancer?
Yeah, it's actually sort of surprising, right? When I came to work for the organization, I wasn't even really aware that there was a bladder cancer disease. It's the 7th most common cancer in the United States, 4th amongst our veteran and military community. So it's fairly prevalent. And I think part of the reason that we don't talk about it is we're embarrassed, right? It's below the belt, it's your bladder, it's all kinds of things that we don't really feel comfortable talking about. It's very intimate, it's very personal. So hats off to you and to Coach Prime for helping us spread the awareness about the disease so that we can break through that stigma. It happens. you have this journey that you're on, and making more people aware and the earlier signs of that blood in their urine can really help people have better results.
Yeah, well, I'm a big believer too that in any fight, your state of mind can impact your outcome.
That's right.
So the reason I chose to share my diagnosis and share really every chapter, I've got a YouTube channel, Chris Parente, and I'm doing a whole series called Sudden Urgency, which is a symptom of bladder cancer, and also kind of what cancer does to you. It puts your life into a sharp focus. You feel this sense of sudden urgency. Yeah. And the reason I did that project is, frankly, I feel like if you're shamed or you're keeping a secret, I feel like that can become its own poison.
That's right.
Do you think?
I think that's right. And I wonder, from your perspective, it sounds to me from you and other people living with the disease, once you sort of let go of that and start sharing your story, you realize you're not alone, and you're also relinquishing the control that cancer has on you. Right? You're able to chart your own way of handling it. You might decide that you want to share it publicly. You might decide that you want to have a mentor. We have a survivor to survivor program where we match people to talk to somebody who has a similar diagnosis and understand what that journey looks like. So it really depends on how you want to deal with it. But I feel like our patients say, once I came out and talked about it, I felt much better. I had more control. Yeah,
which is another thing that your work, BCAN, is largely centered on the patients and connecting us with each other and allowing for some support in addition to all the research. So it's really cool stuff. I have to wonder too, in the context of what you're hoping from this think tank and moving forward. You'd mentioned the increase in treatments. Is that the number one goal, to find better and newer treatments or to refine the treatments we have? The outlook for bladder cancer patients in general, it's relatively hopeful, isn't it?
It's relatively hopeful. It can be managed as a chronic disease, as you know, right? It can be a fairly intense protocol. Lots of surveillance and checks to make sure that you're still without no sign of disease. So that can be really difficult for patients. It's also the most expensive cancer to treat. So we know that there's a level of financial toxicity for our patient community. But it can be treated, especially if it's early. So there's a lot of hope. In addition to that, we are seeing a lot of new therapies, new treatments coming online. There are 3 or 4 going through clinical trials, which are very promising. So we still want to focus on opening up that pipeline, of course.
Right.
But we also want to focus on what's the best treatment for the kind of bladder cancer that you have. Right. So it's sort of matching both the diagnosis with the best treatment protocol. No one wants to go through a treatment protocol that's going to give you a lot of side effects that's not ultimately going to be a good outcome for you.
Right.
So that's part of what we'll be pivoting to as we continue to support patients.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
We got so many treatment options now that we have to figure out which one works for which person. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to do a little more of a deep dive into my story and how I discovered I had cancer and what my journey's been like, and whether that's common or whether that's a unique kind of a thing. Is that cool?
That sounds great.
All right, stick around. It's Colorado Conversations. We're getting personal today, and I'm glad we are, especially if someone in your life has been diagnosed with bladder cancer. Stick around. We're going to come right back. Hey, welcome back to Colorado Conversations. I'm your host, morning anchor Chris Parente. I'm normally on CW2 Daybreak. Been here for 21 years in Denver. So a lot of you I consider family and friends, which created an interesting situation. When I was diagnosed with cancer, you typically want to tell your family and friends. And so I made the decision to tell all of y'all on the morning show. And I have a project on YouTube. If you go to my page, Chris Parente at YouTube, it's all one word. You'll see my new project, Sudden Urgency, which is about how bladder cancer has changed me as a person. And BCAN's been a big part of it, because when I first got into it, I was Googling everything I could. BCAN comes up quickly, which is great because it's a resource for patients. So Meri-Margaret, you're the CEO of BCAN. It's good to have you on.
Thank you.
My story, it was last October. I was getting ready to go out to a charity event, actually for diabetes. Believe it or not, it was a fundraiser. And I went to the bathroom before I had to leave the house, as we do, and I thought, what the hell? Why is there blood in my urine? That was the first indication to me, and my sister's a nurse, so I called her right away. blood in the urine.
Yeah.
From there, we went to the Ready Med to make sure it wasn't a UTI, and to a specialist, so on and so forth. Is that usually the way bladder cancer is detected?
Yeah, most folks present with hematuria, blood in their urine. Many of our patients say they ignore it, right? I had a little pink, I went away, I didn't think it was a big deal. So if anyone is seeing any of that, doesn't mean you have bladder cancer, but you definitely should go be seen by your physician. For women, it's very common that they are misdiagnosed with UTIs, multiple UTIs, and they're given a course of antibiotics that don't work. So for our women, if that is happening to you, my message to you is to make sure that you follow up. Be assertive about your diagnosis and taking care of yourself. Because if you delay the diagnosis, women usually have delayed diagnosis and they have worse outcomes.
Right.
So
everybody
really
knows
important.
If the sooner it's caught, the better.
That's right.
And the situation, in my case, you hope, maybe it's just a UTI.
Right.
But in my case, there was no pain.
Right.
In other words, it didn't burn when I was urinating,
Yes.
which is kind of, usually UTIs hurt. Mine didn't. It was just painless, but it was bloody.
Yes.
And I had a test for UTI, which came back, hey, good news, you don't have a UTI. Is what they said to me.
Right.
I'm like, wait, how is that good news?
Right.
Because if I don't have a UTI, what do I have?
Right. What is it? Yeah.
I wonder too. The first step obviously is they can do a CT scan, and there's been even talk now in cancer research of just getting those scans. Everybody, that could detect a mass.
Yes.
Is that usually the next step? Once you go in and there's blood in the urine, they're going to then say, let's do a scan and see if we can see anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it sort of starts that treatment, right, or that diagnosis process, as you well know. And there's a lot of surveillance to understand what the disease is going to be like. And that's actually, in fact, how Coach Prime's bladder cancer was found. Similarly, he didn't have symptoms, but he had a scan and they found the mass. So that's part of his journey.
I think, speaking honestly, it's interesting to me, and I am going to get a little specific to bladder cancer because I'm hoping this can be directed to anybody who's out there.
Yeah.
It's a unique type of cancer because, speaking bluntly, the bladder is easy to access. So to check the bladder out, there's no need to make an incision or a cut.
Right.
Okay, and that the cancer starts inside the bladder.
That's right.
And the idea is if it's contained to inside the bladder, that's what you want.
That's right.
Right?
That's called non-muscle invasive bladder cancer.
And the idea is to keep it that way.
That's right.
Because once it spreads to the muscle lining, then it could go to the lymph nodes or to other parts of your body, right?
It basically means it's gone beyond the bladder, right? That's the muscle, the wall, right? So you want to be able to contain it in the bladder, just like any other cancer, right? Once it starts traveling, then it becomes a different kind of diagnosis.
Right. And for me, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's not been I haven't had the best news. It's not been the worst either.
Yeah.
My cancer is non-muscle invasive.
Yes.
TA was the last tumor was just TA, which means it's just surface level, very surface level. But it does become a long road of, I was just counting up, I've had 4
That's right.
of these. They're called TERPs, but it's basically where they take a scope inside your bladder, they look around, and they remove, if they see tumors, they remove them.
That's right.
I've had 4 of those in less than a year.
Yeah.
Because bladder cancer is kind of like skin cancer in that it really likes to come back.
It does. Yeah, that's one of the other tricky things I think about bladder cancer, and also sort of explains the financial strain it has on some of our patients. You've gone through 4 since October because it is likely to come back for many of our patients. So you have to continue to have these scans to make sure that there's no evidence of the disease. So you're doing the right thing by being very proactive about it, but it takes time.
Right.
You're going into surgery, you're taking time off from work perhaps, so that it does change your daily routine a bit. And it's also stressful. Probably you could speak to it, right? You're going in for a scan.
Yeah, it's a mind game that's hard, and you've got to stay positive. But yeah, because you can literally look on the monitor
right.
as they're taking the scope inside of you, and this moment, the big reveal, has anything grown back, and you're looking at it in real time.
And now you can sort of tell, right?
I know right away.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, that doesn't look good.
Right.
But the good news is, I also think it's an advantage that we can go in with the scope and get it right out.
That's right.
Listen, gosh, I knew this show would go fast. I want to take one more break, and then I want to talk a little bit about how you can connect with patients and sort of the frontier of bladder cancer.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Sounds great.
All right, stick around.
Thank you.
It's Colorado Conversations. I'm Chris Parente, coming right back. Hey, I really appreciate you sticking around for this. It's probably the most important thing I've done here. I've interviewed a lot of people. I've been a lot of places in my 21 years. I can't think of anything more important than maybe helping somebody else who will be just as shocked and scared and maybe alone as I felt when I got the diagnosis of cancer. And maybe also to give you some hope and some resources that it's all going to be okay. Yeah. That you know, it's funny. I have this project called Sudden Urgency on my YouTube channel.
Yes, perfectly named.
Perfectly named. If you go to go to YouTube, type in Chris Parente, it'll pop right up. And what I've talked a lot about in that series is I actually am in recovery.
Yes.
20 years clean. But the 12-step program has helped me out in cancer too.
Oh, interesting.
Because a lot of it is some measure of surrendering to a higher power, because patients can feel awfully powerless, right?
Yes.
And the desire is, I want to figure it all out. And at some point, you have to kind of surrender, don't you?
Yes, you do. And I think that's a really good analogy for how you handle it, right? There are certain things you can control. And one of the things that we hear most from our patients, we heard it from the patient panel yesterday, every single person, losing control. You've been in good health. You've done everything you can.
Right.
And all of a sudden you get this unexpected diagnosis. And then it's shifting to what can you control, right? What can you control in terms of how you handle your scans, how you expect maybe there could be a reoccurrence that could be treated, how you look at your general health, right? You've been healthy, so don't stop being healthy. Continue to be healthy and think about exercising and positive nutrition, all of those kinds of things that will help you on your journey, as well as one of the things you mentioned, which I think is so important, Chris, is how you feel about your journey, being positive about what's ahead of you, and taking this as an opportunity to shift into a different part of a passion or a mission. That
state of mind.
Yeah.
It's your state of mind. It is funny because I think, well, Beacon really is a support group in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it's not unlike the 12 steps or recovery.
Right.
But again, what got me through it is, if you're not familiar with the 12 steps, but the idea of one day at a time is a big thing.
Yeah.
Let go, let God is a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, so what can I handle today instead of looking months or years down the line has helped me. And I have to wonder too, in terms of what you offer patients. I've got hooked up with a guy who's been dealing with this for like 6 or 7 years. You connect patients with each other, don't you?
Yes, we have a great program called Survivor to Survivor. It's a free service. You can access it by going to our website, BCAN.org. And we will match you with someone who has a similar diagnosis, in some cases, similar lifestyle, similar hobbies, really connecting you from the beginning with commonalities. And they offer this service. They want to give back and pay it forward. So they'll spend time with you. Our Survivor to Survivor volunteers say that often their first call is 1 to 2 hours with a patient. And if that match doesn't work great, you can find somebody else as well. So we have a lot of flexibility.
It's awesome.
And
you also
for
do
caregivers too.
You do. I just can't say enough about, like, because that was one of the themes at our panel yesterday is how patients didn't feel there were a lot of resources at the doctor's office.
That's right.
You know, sure, the doctor's going to handle your cancer, but really the fight's a lot more than just the cancer.
That's right.
And so Beacon is really there. If you go to the website right away, whether you're a caregiver or a patient, you can get hooked up so that you do have somebody to talk about that understands it.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Yes.
You also do a walk every year, which is a great fundraiser. I was amazed. I heard you say yesterday that about 88,000 people are diagnosed and a lot more are living with bladder cancer.
That's right.
What's that number?
So it's 84,000 diagnosed each year, newly diagnosed, and 125,000 living in the United States with bladder cancer, 1,200 here in Colorado.
I'm one of them.
That's
and
right.
so it's a great resource to move forward. And I have to wonder before we go, the walks are a great way to raise awareness and money.
Yes.
And so if you are, I actually went to the walk for the first time this year. I hadn't gone public yet, but I wanted to go check it out. It's a great thing. So it's something else you could do as a caregiver
That's
or
right.
a family member or a patient, right?
That's
The
right.
walk.
In May. Yep. We'll be back in May. And it's also, in addition to raising money to support research and these free patient resources we have, it's also a great way, I hope you felt this at the walk, to understand you're not alone.
Right.
There are all these people who are walking with a similar sort of path that you've been on, and it immediately connects you to a very warm community that wants to support you and your journey.
Well, I owe you a great debt. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Give the website one more time to the folks.
Beacon.org, BCAN.org.
Very easy.
Yeah.
BCAN.org. Do yourself a favor and go check it out. And again, we'll reiterate, blood.
Don't ignore it.
If you're going to the bathroom and you see blood, do not ignore it, because I was able to catch mine early, and that's my same wish for you if you're on this journey. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Chris, so much.
And thank you for allowing Denver to be the host city of this year's think tank.
Glad to be back.
That's
20
awesome.
years and growing, and it's really been great to be back and be with you.
Good luck in the think tank, and I hope great things come of it.
Sounds good.
All right, we're out
Thank
of
you.
time. And by the way, if you want to follow me on YouTube, that's great. If you want to email me, my work email is available. I'm here to talk to you if you need it as well. Chris Parente, and also be on the air tomorrow morning, CW2 Daybreak for the morning news. I'll see you then.